Hello guys, welcome to another edition of Ray Sports News and Debates. Okay, today's video, we're going to be talking about these running backs and why some teams just aren't offering them, long-term contracts. So let's get into it. Okay, the main two we're going to be talking about are going to be Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. I want to throw Tony Pollard into the mix. But this is a contract year for Tony Pollard. He balled out, made the Pro Bowl last year. But, the Cowboys are just going to, wait and see if he can be a 3-down back. But Pollard's one of the ones I'm not really surprised the Cowboys put the tag on him. I think they're going to rework Zach Martin's contract because there are other linemen in the league that are getting more money than him, and he's probably the best guard in all of football. But anyways, we're gonna go on to probably one of the more harder ones. So we'll go to the easy one, and that's Saquon. I love Saquon, and I think the reason the Giants won't commit to him long term, because from what I've heard, they've offered him, I think, 12.5 or 13 million. And, when you got McCaffrey and all these other guys making, 15 and a half, $16 million, you want to get, treated with the same respect as those guys, because those guys got paid and, and everything. But, Saquon has had a tendency, durability wise, to get hurt. He obviously torn his ACL. But he came back from that ACL and had one of the best comeback seasons in recent history. I mean, and what dumbfounds me the most about why the Giants won't pay Saquon is because they paid Daniel Jones $40 million when really Saquon Barkley has made Daniel Jones into, I'm not saying he's a winning quarterback or anything, but if you take Saquon out of that offense, it's rough. It's extremely rough. They go from a 9-7 team to probably a 5-12 team at best, and that's if Denny is balling. You're paying an average quarterback $40 million, and I'm not gonna lie, Daniel Jones played well last year, but it was a contract year. You're obviously gonna try and ball out your contract year. And now they're on the hook for $40 million a year for the next 5 years, when I think you could have got Daniel Jones cheap. I personally would have let him go if he wanted more than 30. I would have given him the $30 million a year. And, that extra $10 million, I would have used to pay Saquon. Saquon has earned that contract. He is, when he's healthy and on the field, he's the best running back in football, if not in the conversation for being the best running back, top 3, top 4. I like Derrick Henry. I like McCaffrey. Josh Jacobs is up there. But I think it's durability. I really think at the end of the day, the Giants want to pay Saquon, but they just don't want to pay him long term for 4 or 5 years, because at that point Saquon will be in his early 30s. So, the running back position is, slowly kind of dying in the NFL. The NFL is going to more of a passing league now. There's really only, I could probably name 8 or 9 teams that heavy duty run the football, like you used to in the NFL. But I mean, outside of the durability thing, I don't know why they won't pay Saquon. It dumbfounds me. He could still play. He could still run. He's still one of the best running backs in all of football. And outside of durability, I just don't know why they won't, pay him his money. He's earned it, But going into the next running back, and this one's a little bit more tougher because he hasn't really been hurt too much. And that's Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. And, it's one thing to not pay Saquon. Okay, and now that the deadline has passed for the franchise tag, he's got to sign that to get his $10 million, or he doesn't. If I was Saquon, it was different when Le'Veon held out, and it was like $14.5 million. But Saquon, $10 million, that's way under the belt of what Saquon should be getting paid. At the minimum, Saquon should be getting at least $14 million a year. At the very minimum. And if you got to restructure some contracts to get him his money, then you got to restructure some contracts. But going into the Josh Jacobs thing, it really, really, really dumbfounds me on this one, because you got rid of Derek Carr's contract. You brought Jimmy Garoppolo in. Cheap, I might add. You got Jimmy Garoppolo cheap. And you're not paying Josh Jacobs? Who, quote me if I'm wrong here, but I think he's only missed maybe 7 or 8 games the past 2 years. Maybe, I'll probably say 3 years if I'm being perfectly honest. But he's been on the field, and when he's been on the field, he has balled for the Raiders. He was the only bright spot the Raiders had last year. Derek Carr was terrible. Davante Adams had a Davante Adams year. He was solid. But Josh Jacobs was light years above the rest, the best thing on that team. And that's like I'm not comparing him to Michael Jordan. So when I say this, don't get it twisted. But that's like Michael Jordan, getting paid $100,000 a year. When he's balling, scoring all these points, winning the titles for the Bulls, it's like paying him $100K. And I can't tell you why. And I never played running back, ever in football when I played football. But I don't know why these owners won't pay these running backs. And the only thing I could think of is the Ezekiel Elliott thing. When Zeke got his money, he went down every year in terms of yardage. And last year, he had 2 years ago, he had one of the worst years of his career in terms of, yardage and yards per carry. But that's because the Cowboys used him so much his first 4 years. He led the league in rushing his first 3 years, 2016, 2017, and 2018. And by the time they got to 2021, I love Zeke, but you could tell there was a difference. That's why Pollard was getting more and more touches. And last year, Pollard, was the backup, but he was getting more touches than Zeke was. And, hopefully, something happens. You rework some of these contracts and you get these running backs this money. I don't know how Dalvin Cook is a free agent right now. That just blows my mind, because he's getting up there in age, but Dalvin Cook can still run the football. And I really think you get Dalvin Cook cheap. I think there's a lot of teams that could use him. I think he could be an insurance policy for the Giants if Saquon sits out. Where else? He can't go to Cleveland. He can't go to Cincinnati. He can't go to the Jets, although the Jets have been rumored to sign him. But you got Breece Hall and that other back. You don't really need Dalvin Cook. I think the Lions could sign Dalvin Cook. I think the Packers could sign him. Hopefully the owners start getting the memo and they start paying these running backs. It's just a shame that, you have these two great players who the franchise just doesn't want to pay long term. And that's a shame because they've earned their money. And I feel like if you earned your money, you're entitled to it. So, but anyways, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal of 200 subscribers on this channel, guys. And until next time, you guys have a good one.